here's the deal most of us have made quietly with email. It's open all day. So you open it first thing, you check it between everything. Somehow the morning's gone before you've touched the work that really actually mattered. And then we blame ourselves for that, right? We think we're behind or disorganized or we're just bad at this. But I'm here to tell you that it's not an email problem. It is a relationship problem. It's the way we've been taught to treat email. And that's the thing that's broken, not you. Once you see that, you can change it. Once you understand that that's what it is, you can actually change it. You don't need a new app. There are tons of emails apps out there, but they're not going to change your relationship with email in a lasting way. What you do need is a different way to hold on to the app that you already have. So if you're already using Apple Mail, Gmail, whatever, how do you hold on to that and make it work for you instead of against you? I think to get into email, it's important to go back to where all of this started because almost everybody gets this wrong and it changes everything once you see it. So in the early to mid 2000s, a guy named Merlin Mann coined a term you've definitely heard, inbox zero. Merlin was one of the OG productivity folks in the space, and he coined this term, inbox zero. But here's the thing that almost nobody remembers. The zero was never the number of emails in your inbox. When Merlin said zero, he was talking about the amount of mental space that your email takes up, the amount of time it spends living rent-free in your head. The zero was about your attention, getting your inbox to stop occupying your mind. That was the whole point. Now, emptying the actual inbox, that was just one possible way to get there. It was a tactic, but it was never really the goal. But look what we did with it in all those years since. We saw the screenshots of empty inboxes. We made the number the scoreboard. And we turned a philosophy about protecting your attention into a chore about hitting zero unread messages, something that you could count. So it's countable, it's postable, a game you could win or you could lose. And the second something becomes a number, we start playing for the number instead of the point. And that's how inbox zero went from a genuinely good idea to a guilt machine that nobody can keep up with. So Merlin himself basically walked away from the whole thing. Partly, I think, because he watched his idea, like it kind of got flattened into a scoreboard that he never really built. I'm pretty sure Merlin's not even a sports fan. I want you to hold on to this because everything else today hangs on it. The goal was never an empty inbox. The goal was a quiet mind. Now, I want to tell you about something that happened a couple of months ago because it's the best proof I have that this isn't just me being contrarian. So in late April, Cal Newport, and if you don't know Cal or haven't heard of Cal, he's about as rigorous and respected as it gets in this world of productivity. He's a computer science professor at Georgetown, writes for the New Yorker, wrote deep work among others, and he has devoted an entire episode of his podcast to one question. Is inbox zero even possible? And I listened to the whole thing nodding because Cal, as usual, gets so much of it right. So he says, and this is almost, I'm paraphrasing, but it's almost word for word. Is what he says. And this is what I believe as well, that when you process your inbox, the goal is not to act on every message. It's to get every message out of the inbox and into a system that's actually built to hold it. He says that your inbox is a terrible place to store your obligations because there's no structure. The tasks are hidden behind subject lines like forward, summer thing. And it's all just tangled up with junk. He says, and I love this, if I pitch you that as a to-do app, you'd never buy it. And he's right. And that's exactly what I teach. Your inbox is a receiving dock, not a warehouse. And he goes even further. He says, stop working through your inbox in the order things arrived, because every message is a different topic and your brain burns out switching between them. So instead, batch them by context, like you would your tasks. So pull everything about one thing together and handle it as a group. And again, yes, that's the same instinct behind working in themes, daily themes, horizontal themes, instead of just going top to bottom. So here is a Georgetown computer scientist independently landing on two of the core ideas that I teach. That's not that just goes to show that there's validation for the work I do. There's often, great minds think alike, I guess. But here's where Cal and I part ways with it. And it's subtle, but it's the whole reason that I'm doing this live stream, this video for you today. After all of that, after correctly diagnosing that the inbox is the wrong place to store things, after the context batching, after getting the entire machine right, Cal still calls the goal inbox 0. He still defines winning, at least how I interpret it, as the inbox hitting empty. He concludes, yes, it is possible to get there once or twice a week. And I want to be fair to him. He's not wrong that you can't. He does it. His method works. But watch what just happened, okay? One of the sharpest minds in the entire field fixed the whole machine and then aimed it at the same old target, the number, empty. And that's when it really hits me. It really hit me how deep this runs. Because remember what I just said. Merlin Mann's 0 was never about message count. It was about mental load. And here's one of the most careful thinkers alive. And he reaches for the number, because the number is the inherited frame that nobody stops to question. Now, I'm not here to argue with Cal Newport about method. On method, we mostly agree. I'm here to go back to what Merlin actually meant and finish the sentence I think everybody stopped reading. The goal was never an empty inbox. The goal was a quiet mind, and you do not need 0 emails to get one. So, if the goal isn't 0, what is it? Well, I call it inbox today. And it's not a number, it's a state. It's the feeling of glancing at your inbox and just knowing that nothing's slipping, knowing where everything lives, being able to close the thing and walk away without that low background hum of dread. Not 0 messages, a quiet mind. That's the actual prize, and I think it always was. You get there with a simple, repeatable rhythm, a few short passes a day. Now, I'm not going to walk you through the whole method right now. We'd be here a while, and there's more to it than that. But I'll tell you the shape of it. You stop treating your inbox like a place things live and start treating it like a place things land on their way somewhere better. Decide once, route it, and move on. Now, when you do that, the number takes care of itself. But the number was never the point. The calm is. Okay, so as promised, here's something you can do tomorrow, whether or not you ever do anything else I teach. So tomorrow morning, before you open your inbox, do one thing that actually matters. Take even 10 minutes, just one real task. First, before you let email in. Here's why it works. Your inbox is everyone else's agenda. So when you start your day there, you hand your best and freshest attention to other people's priorities before you've spent any of it on your own. And it doesn't matter whether you're a night owl or an early bird when you do this. Just start somewhere that's yours, and the whole day tilts back towards you. So that's it. One small move, and you'll feel different by lunch. I think that this measuring stick of inbox 0 is one of the biggest problems of productivity, because it hinges on quantitative over qualitative. What's interesting is I think that Merlin actually meant inbox today more than inbox 0. I think that the 0 is something that we all mutually understand, because 0 is the same pretty much to everybody. So when you get to 0, we know that that number 0 means the same thing as it does roughly to you. And I say roughly because I think there might be some nuance in 0 as well. But today is different for everyone. My today is different than your today. Once we start introducing nuance and subjectivity into the mix, rather than objectives and a level of absolute, the system tends to feel like it can fall apart. But we just finished in my TimeCrafting Trust community, our TimeCrafting Trust community, talking about the book Slow Productivity. And a lot of what Cal Newport talks about in that book, I agree with, because I think productivity is broken. And what I believe the premise of that book is, and again, Cal wrote a book called A World Without Email. So, I mean, he's dedicated a lot of time to this email question as well, which is why I think we're so close to each other in terms on that. He wrote the foreword to the Front Nine. I've known Cal for a long time. But there is this understanding, I think, that these numbers make it more attractive for people to embrace than if it's qualitative. But the book Slow Productivity, to me, was the premise is we need to focus on quality over quantity. And that's part of why productivity is broken. And I couldn't agree more. We just go about it different ways. And the same thing can be said for email. I'm not a fan of tackling the email problem, to be honest, because it is an ongoing problem. I'm already in the work that I do trying to tackle the problem with time management and things of that nature, because we can't manage time. We manage the things that live within time. And that's a hard, that's like swimming upstream in a lot of ways as well. Email management is another, because you've got so many different end users and so many generational end users, where when I've worked with clients, I've seen how everyone uses email differently. Older folks use it almost exclusively instead of task managers. It takes them a long time. And this is a generalization. But if you're working with like people who are older, and when I say older than me, like 50 plus, many of them grew up in an era where there was no joint task management applications or project management applications that everyone could work with. So email became not just the method of communication, but the method of assignment or delegation. And that, because of the sheer volume of emails grown over the years, that is one area where those set of users either need to be retrained or we need to deal with them accordingly. The thing I'm putting together helps you hopefully deal with that. Younger folks, from what I've gathered through some research, generally they're more instant messaging oriented as opposed to email, or so they'll use Microsoft Teams or Slack or any of those to communicate. And email becomes, it's they've seen the trap of it, perhaps, and it's become more less used. It doesn't mean that once they're in a corporate environment that they're not using it relentlessly, but they certainly don't want things in there. So there's a likelihood of either one of two things to happen. Either they get to zero or they let it, kind of pile up. So every user is different, the way that they deal with this. And when I've done workshops and things of that nature, it's interesting just to hear the different stories from generations, corporate cultures of how they use email within their own organization, even departments within organizations. So email is not a one and done solution. It's not a universally solvable problem where this is how we all mutually agree to use email across the board and this is what it's going to be. There's just too much you can do with it. It's not like a phone call where, back in my day when you could make a phone call and that's what it was. The only thing you could transmit over the phone was your voice. Email gives you so many more opportunities to transmit more than just the message. You can transmit files. You could transmit calendar invitations. You can transmit tasks within the confines of the message, the content of the message. And there's a lot of that you need to take into account. So when you're looking at it from that vantage point, it makes it pretty clear to me that the email problem or the email association with productivity it's probably the garden you need to tend the most, because I think the biggest thing is you have the least control over all of it. You don't. You can set boundaries, which I think is really important, and that's what the idea of inbox today is. But the controls of what comes at you is very different. And we're not even talking about when your email gets added to a list where all of a sudden you're getting emails that you've never associated with because there was a password leak somewhere and your email goes out, and all of a sudden, because I get emails to my personal account that are related to my own work here. And how do they get my personal email? You go to, there's this website, I think it still exists. I am pwned, PWND, I think, or am I pwned, I think it is. And I look, and sure enough, at some point, my email was added to a list. You can go to conferences. I think this is becoming less in vogue, but it used to be, where if you were attending a conference, like if I was attending, let's say, Kit's Craft and Commerce, although never through that, but let's say I was attending a social media marketing world, and somebody had the list of all the attendees, that list could be sold to a marketing agency. You're also putting your email out there maybe on purpose, right? So I understand the monolithic element of email, which is why I understand the inbox zero is a perpetual motion machine. It is an objective that is not worth striving for the way that we've been striving for it. Because at the end of the day, when you tell someone you got your email to inbox zero, it doesn't impress as many people as you might think. And I'm not saying people are doing it to impress. Sometimes people do, but not very often. It's more to say, look, I can get, because often it'll ask people, like, how do you do it? Most people I see either really strive for zero, and then other things kind of fall by the wayside, or they burn out. Or number two, people have just given up. They're like, okay, well, And inbox zero, by the way, for some people isn't even zero in your inbox. It just means zero marked as unread. But again, leaving them in your inbox, it's a lot like that receiving dock, where if it just stays there, it's still a pile. And unless you have a way to sort through that pile, a mechanism, a trustworthy mechanism, a trustworthy framework, a trustworthy workflow, it's just going to sit there. And I've talked to tons of people. Some people have dedicated, the stack method is a good example, their entire trainings to email management. And to be fair, email is something you can manage because it is something that lives within time. You do have agency over it to a point, but you basically have to control the flow once the emails arrive in your inbox. And there's lots of tools that can help with this too. But I think that, as I pointed out, we're aiming for the wrong target if that's our goal, is to get to zero, because you'll never truly hit it for long enough for it to last. Even Cal, when he talks about doing his sweep, and if you listen to that episode, he does it he doesn't do it every day because he can't get to zero every day. And I think he's done a pretty good job of safeguarding his emails too, to the point where the bandwidth around his decisions around what to do with email is very high. So he also set up, if you read A World Without Email, it's quite good. the whole point is around creating boundaries with email, because he's not proposing in the book, because it would be foolish, it's just the title of the book, that we should have no email. He's saying, what if email wasn't the center of your world? What if you could make email just one thing instead of the thing? So that's ultimately what I want you to consider today. Don't strive for this zero. Strive for today, what that looks like to you. Not the calm inbox, not taming the inbox either. Because again, I think that's fruitless. Your email inbox is never going to fully be tamed, because there are wild things always entering it and you don't know what's coming. That's the other thing too. There's a lot of uncertainty. So you need something that is certain that you can work with. And getting to inbox zero is by far not a certainty. The only certainty is the number zero, which is largely unattainable. And if we want to get to productiveness, that state of being productive, there needs to be a way for you to deal with email that allows you to sustain that state or get back into that state as simply and swiftly as possible. So that's it. Thank you so much for being here. And until next time, I'm Mike Vardy. Remember, stop doing productive. Start being productive. See you later.